Whenever we want. Tonight's Zera Shimshon Shiur is sponsored by Reb Meir and Mrs. Zinman, and Reb Heshi and Mrs. Kress. This is Le'ilui Nishmas. Was it the Numan? Reb Menachem ben Reb Sholem, whose yard site is now. So, Le'ilui Nishmasai to Reb Menachem ben Reb Sholem. Let's make a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam sha'akol niyeh b'dvaroi. L'chaim. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Okay. Meir Rabbi say, let's learn about Yishmael, the status of Yishmael, the koyach of Yishmael, what he's doing in the world. What was Avram Avinu's opinion? What was Sarah Imenu's opinion? What's the ganze sugya of Yishmael? HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Avram Avinu and told him he was going to have a son. He said, Lu Yishmael yichya lefanecha. Halava Yishmael should survive. Was that prayer answered? You see how many Arabs there are in the world. See how many Yishmaelim. Aber was is there tachlis? How does what Avram Avinu want, how does that become fulfilled through them? And what was Sarah Imenu's position? And Bichlal, the whole story of Avram Avinu marrying a shifcha, how is that permissible? Avram Avinu kept the rules of the Torah. How is he allowed to marry such a woman? Let's learn the Zera Shimshon Rabbi Sai. These questions and others will be explained by Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach. Let's learn the Zera Shimshon, letter Yud Ches. We just said L'chaim, so it works out we're Chai. That's page Reish Aleph. V'toimer la'Avraham Goreish es ha'uma hazois ve'es bena ki lo yirash ben ha'uma hazois im beni im Yitzchak. Get rid of that boy. Goreish es ha'uma hazois. I'm not interested in him. Ki lo yirash im beni im Yitzchak. Avram Avinu, says the Torah Kedosha, Vayeira hadover me'oid be'enei Avram al oidos benoi. It bothered him terribly, al oidos benoi, because about this subject of his son. Vayomer Elokim el Avram al yeira be'enecha al hanar ve'el amosecha. Don't worry about the child and about this maidservant. Whatever Sarah says, listen to her. Shma bekoila. Chazal, Rashi quotes, brings down from here that Avraham was subservient, second to Sarah in Ruach HaKodesh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, obviously, if the Rabbeinu Shalom himself, Kaviyachol, has to tell Avram, that means that this was a big problem. It was only resolved by the Bashefer. It was only resolved by the Eibishter. He told Avram Avinu, you got to listen to her. Why? Because she knows better. Ki beYitzchak yikar lecha Zora. It's through Yitzchak that you will have the children. But v'gam es ben ha'ama legoy asimenu ki zar'achahu. He is your child as well, so therefore I will make him to a great and mighty nation. That's the episode in this week's Parsha. Says the Zera Shimshon, I have a bunch of questions. First of all, ask the Zera Shimshon, yesh ledaktik al tam shenosen ki lo yiresh. What does this have to do with the concept of the Yerusha? Why is the Yerusha so important? Sarah didn't want to split the pot with anybody. She wanted it all for herself. Chulila to even think that way. But why is she making such a big deal with this Yerusha? V'oid. Many of the Mefarshim ask him, what's it going to help? What's going to stop Yishmael from coming back and asking for a Yerusha afterwards? What's going to hold him back? You send him away now. After Avram is going to be nifter, they'll go to court. They'll fight it out. He'll come in, he'll fight, he'll ask for his portion. He's going to want it then. Next, Vayeira davar ma'oid. What are these svaras over here? In Yitzchak, through Yitzchak. Says the Zera Shimshon, let's open up this shaila and let's explain this with a basic yisoid, which as the Zera Shimshon sometimes weaves halacha, pshat, kabbalah, all things come together. That's one of the things that makes the Zera Shimshon so unique. Forgot to mention, I just want to thank Torah anytime for helping, for doing what they do with our shir and with thousands and thousands of shir and Baruch Hashem and Klal Yisrael, spreading Torah everywhere. V'yuven b'machloikes ha'go'onim be'inyan haba el shivchasoy. The Gemara in Yevamis, a little bit of background, Rabbi Say. The Gemara in Yevamis says it's learning a yibum is all about kinder. It's all about children. When a man leaves this world with children, his wife doesn't have to have yibum or chalitza. When a man, chalila, leaves this world without children, then the woman, the wife, needs to have either yibum or chalitza. What is considered children? Was is kinder? If a man has a child with chas v'shalom, a non-Jewish woman, and it's a child, is that kinder? Is that considered a child that patters his regular wife from yibum? What happens if he lives with a shivcha? What happens if he lives with his shivcha? The Gemara in Yevamis says children with Jewish women are considered children. Children with non-Jewish women are not your children. They're not considered your children. And what about with a shivcha? A shivcha is a servant, also not children. But there's something interesting that the Gemara seemed to have left out, or the Gemara did not mention, and here is where there's a great debate amongst the Rambam and other Rishonim. What about a person's eigen shivcha? In English, that means his own maidservant. He has the power to release her. He has, she's not Jewish, but the fact that he owns her has the schus to set her free.
And if she sets her free,
and Zukter Meir, if he sets her free, then she's Yiddish. Then he's Yiddish and she's Yiddish and he has a kid.
Match made in heaven. Made in heaven. No. M-A-I-D.
Oh, I don't know if you get better every week or worse. More sophisticated. Heros v'sashtayt. Listen, the Rambam writes, so says the Zera Shimshon. Listen to the Zera Shimshon. If a person lives with his own shivcha, obviously, Marav Rabbi say Hagar was l'chayra Avram's and Sarah's, only Sarah's. That's going to be part of the discussion.
I think it was Sarah's, no?
Hold on. All right, hold on. That is the discussion, Rabbi Say. Dois geit men reden. You bunch of Talmidei Chachamim, Baruch Hashem. That is right. Whose shivcha was she? Who had the rights over Hagar? Reb Jonathan here, Oivenun. Please come some tish. The Shahariv Sfuke Mesapkele. The Riv is Mesupik. The Riv is Mesupik. And says the Rif, since the Gemara does not mention and make a distinction between his shifcha and another shifcha, the Gemara makes a blanket statement. A person who lives with a shifcha, the children are not Yiddish, and therefore even if you have a child, you're still mechuyev for yibum and chalitza. But says the Rif, I have an overwhelming svara. Ein adam oise bilas nus. A person wouldn't want to just live with someone in a sinful way if they can live in a mutterdika way. So since it's his shivcha, probably he wants to be meshachrer her. If he wants to be meshachrer her, so then she'll be a Jewish woman. He'll set her free, and the child will be your child. But it doesn't say so clearly in the Gemara. Therefore, the Rif is misupik, and it goes according to his opinion. It's a suffix of whether or not it's a Jewish kid or not. That's why it says when it comes to Isser, you can't give Yibum, you have to give Chalitza. According to the Rif, this child, if he shows up, you have a bunch of kinderlach and one child who's the son of a shifcha, his shifcha, and he wants a Yerusha. You tell him, bring me a raya that our dad set your mom free, that you're really our brother as a Jewish one, and then we'll give you a Yerusha. The onus of proof is on you. Azoy state in Rif. Ve'harambam. Listen to the lashon of the Rambam. Beperik Yud Milchus Geirish and Bepertes Milchus Avodim Shavlad Eved. From on the one hand, what's Nageya to Isser, this child is not Jewish. The child is an Eved. However, Beperik Daled Mehilchus Nachlois. I want to quote it for you. Me, Shahoisaloi Shifcha. He had a Shifcha. V'hoiled mimena ben. V'yanayig b'minig bonim. He treated this child like a son. Rabbi Sai. The Rambam already wrote, and the Zera Shimshon just quoted, status-wise, he's not Jewish. However, it is his son. Oy sh'amr b'nihu u'mishuchreres hi imay. Im talmid chacham hu oy adam kosher. If the fellow's a talmid chacham, an adam kosher, who isn't just a bal taiva, shehuchsik b'dikduke mitzvahs. He's machzik b'dikduke mitzvahs harizeh yira shenu. He gets a Yerusha. He deserves a Yerusha. We will assume that the father had done what he needed to do to allow this boy to get a Yerusha. And if you're learning Daf Yomi and you just finished learning Yesh Noichlim, the Gemara over there says you can give a matana to anybody you want, even to an Eved.
But if he's not Jewish, how can he keep the I'm sorry.
Who the father was Jew. The father was keeping Dikduk. You're saying the dad was
the
dad was keeping Dikduk mitzvahs. Va'afal pikein, even though we're giving him money, ain't a nice bas Yisrael. We don't let him marry a Jewish girl until he proves that his mother was set free before he was born. Her status is a shivcha. If dad was not such a big tzaddik, Nish gevein az a groise tzaddik, ein tzorich loy min ha-mafkirim atzmoi lekach, harei ze becheskas eved l'chol dover. He's like an eved for everything. V'ochiv me'oviv moichrin oisoi, and his brothers can sell him like an eved. V'im ein la'oviv ben chutz mimenu eishes avim misyavemes. And if he's the only child, there's a mitzvah of yibum because he doesn't have a status. If dad is an er l'chayid, then he can give him a Yerusha. If not, he's just a regular eved.
What says the Erlich?
Medaktek b'mitzvahs, is careful with mitzvahs. So now, let's bring that concept, says the Zera Shimshon, back to us. What do you think the status of Yishmael was? Based on this conversation. L'chaira.
Avram let him go, right?
I don't know. Will you say, Eliezer? Let me hear what you have to say. You're asking me, you're telling me.
I'm saying. Avram let him go, so assumes that would make him a Jew because he let him go.
So you're saying like Shane says, so he was a
However,
Jew.
He was born
No,
already.
that before that. No.
That has to happen before Yishmael was born.
So
This happened after Yishmael.
Of course.
What is his
Afterwards.
to do with his mother?
When he told Hagar to leave.
He doesn't tell her, he told her to take her son.
Bald Eliezer, you freigs git.
Let's go.
Let
Not gonna
this
help. He was born already.
Eliezer, let the Zera Shimshon tell us what he thinks. Zug the Zera Shimshon. Sarah Imenu was of the opinion, like the Rif, that this baby is a Eved 100%. She was of the opinion, like the Rif, that you cannot give a Yerusha to such a child. Okay? 1 second, let me just read it inside. I want you to read the Rambam. Kosav she'im za'avu tamad chacham hayodim kosher, then harizeh yershenu. V'arav amagid herech sham v'hevi dasarif, v'kosav shetam harambam b'din Yerusha mishum sha'atoyrin notnu reshus la'av lahanchol, he can give to anybody he wants. Uma'ata. Let's go back to our story. Shekavanas Sarah Haisa Shishmol Ubanav Yisku be'Eretz Yisrael. Why? Shekvayivtiach HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Avram L'Zorachan Netzati. Avram Avinu was told, you're going to get Eretz Yisrael. If Yishmol is a child, he's also going to get Eretz Yisrael. And the V'Hav Mishum Hachi Amar Garesha Umazois Ve'ezbena Kedas Arif. V'after zinin l'chumer b'chomidi d'isura ki lo yorish beino oma hazois til inyan mama lo yorish. She held that Sarah held. He doesn't get nothing. He doesn't get nothing.
When did it change? It was her idea to have his son.
Balt. I'm getting there. Kisha yeah eidus zu ba'olam. The Eidos should be, everybody should know that Avram Avinu, you have to send him away. Everybody has to know that. After he dies, to take his chelik, because it's going to be public knowledge that you sent him away. We need to be mefaris from that, so he shouldn't come back. Omnam, Vayeira medavar ma'od bein Avram, al oides benoi. Because if he's sending him away, that means it's not his son. And Avram Avinu did want him as a son. Lamaisa was Zarehu, like the Torah Kedosha says. VaKadosh Baruch Hu, what was Hashem's opinion? HaKadosh Baruch Hu left it as a suffix. How so? HaKadosh Baruch Hu niek mokem lemachloikis hapoiskim. Why? She'elu ve'elu divrei kim chayim. V'loin omar al bincha v'al amasecha, or al amasecha v'al b'no, elo omar stam al hana'ar. Leaving the status of the child still a place for debate. El anar vel amosecha. Which means, according to the Rambam, he would get a portion. But im kol zeh sora rosa baruch hakodesh she'enoi roitze beyitzchak dafka yikra lechozara shebeyitzchak v'loi beyishmol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avram, I know that there's an opinion that holds that you could get it, but ki beyitzchak yichar lechozara. Listen, what's going on? Like Shane just asked. Says the Zera Shimshon, I discussed this in last week's Parsha. I want you to take a look over there in Chav Beis. Go back for a minute, Rabbi Isai. Go to page Kiv Nin Vuv 156. Kiv Nin Hey at the bottom of the page. V'yesh lo meshinyan kach. When Sarah gave Avraham Hagar, he said, take her as a wife on one condition. She acts appropriate and she proves that she's ready to be your wife. If she can prove she's ready to be your wife, then I'm all for it. Watch what he says. Shesara nosna Hagar b'matana gemur la'Avram kedei sheyishachrarena, so that he should set her free. Ach al das shitoimedes be'emunosoi v'loi tezalzol b'sara. You have to have midos toivos to be Avram Avinu's wife. You have to rise to the occasion and be respectful and have a karasat toiv and to understand what gives you the schus to be here. As soon as Hagar is mizalzul in Sarah, all bets are off, all matana is gone, retroactively, batul umevutul, nullified.
What was the mezalzel?
What's that?
What did she do?
Shivate, she started looking down at her at Sarah. She'im tasekain botla hamatona mi'ikara v'chayzra liyas shivcha Sarah kemoisha haisa. Everything is on condition. We'll see how she acts. Let's open up the Chumash a second and let's take a look back at Parshas Lech Lecha for a moment. See how this transaction happens. How this whole shakla v'tarya. V'sara eishes Avram loy haisa loy she couldn't have any kids. V'lo shivcha mitzvah so shmai hagar. I don't have a child, boyo shivchasi. V'ibana, v'yishma Avram b'kol sar, v'tikach sara eishes Avram es hagar mitzvah shivcha mekates eser shanim l'sheves beretz Canaan, after 10 years living in Canaan, and pay attention. V'titein oisa l'Avram isha lo leisha. She gave this shivcha to him, to her husband, leisha, as a wife. So shteita, she didn't want Avraham necessarily to live with her as a shivcha. That's what the Chumash says. Vayove el Hagar vatar, vatera ki hayrasa vatekel gvirta beineha. She got pregnant. She said, wow, I got pregnant the first night. Sarah's been living with him for years. She must not be such a tzaddikus. Whoa, ayin ra. You're not dan lekav schus that maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a separate plan. That's who you are. Vatoimer Sarah el Avram chamos yalech. He gets upset at her. We'll have to see if we can see why soon with the Ohr Chaim HaKodesh. Vateira ki ayrosa va'ekel b'aneh yishpat Hashem b'ni b'einecha va'yomer Avram el Sarah hine shivcha seich. I thought it was an isha. I thought it was a wife. He said li isha hine shivcha seich. Says the Zera Shimshon, this was the Tanai. If zifir tzachov vizidaf, if she acts the way she's supposed to, she's ro'ui to be your wife. You know what Rabbi is saying? This was Hagar's nisayon. Sarah had a nisayon, Avram had a nisayon, and Hagar had a nisayon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you a bracha, young lady. You got pregnant right away from Zera Kodesh of Avram, right? And now you're acting like a shivcha. You're acting, you became a balgaiva. You're not humble. Goodbye. You're back to being a shivcha. Take your shivcha. She lost the opportunity. She had an opportunity. Goodbye. Do what you want. And Sarah was vataneha. She ran away. Hagar ran away. And Vayeira Malach, the Malach said, Shuvi el gevirtech, go back to her. V'isani tachtov, go back to him. And you'll have a son. You'll call his name Yishmael. V'hu yepera Adam, and go and do it.
She already had it.
She lost that child. She was pregnant and she lost the baby. Yes, you never heard. Shane, Boker Tov, Baruch Hashem, Tov Shin Pei. Hey, you heard it here. She lost. We knew this in Rashi for a while. You knew that too, Yitzi? She lost the baby. Okay, Baruch Hashem, Chumash Rashi. You knew that? From the Ayin Hara, yes. She lost the first baby. Avram got her pregnant once. She lost that baby. You can look inside, Yitz. She lost the baby, then she had another. Why is she going back again? What's going on? So she blew it. Why do you have to have another Yishmael? What's going on? Number one. Number two, the big kasha, we'll call it the elephant in the room. Avram now is certainly living with a shivcha. if you had a Havamina beforehand, and there was a whole debate, Yashivcha, Nishivcha, Rambam, Riv, Tzatitzach, Alomdis, but now she's certainly a Shivcha. What in the world is going on? I'm going to share with you a side from the Ohr Chaim HaKodesh. You got to be the Ohr Chaim HaKodesh. You have to be a person who has Ruach HaKodesh to say what we're about to learn.
It means he let her go before Yishmael was born.
Sure. First time. No, she ran away. No, she ran away.
First she ran away.
Oh, she ran away, not...
Well, how could it be that Sarah Imenu gives Avram a shifcha? V'tam Sarah shayhikbid losei shifcha leben chayrin. V'gam Avram. And Rabbi said, by the way, that it's more than that. I need this chumash back for a second. Later on, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avram Avinu, I'm going to give you a child. Avram Avinu says, Lu Yishmo Yichya Lefanecha. Do I really need another child? Halavai that Yishmo should be able to live before you. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Avol Sori Ishtecha Yoylad Ben. We're going to learn that, which means, I know you're davening for Yishmo, but Sarah is going to have a child. That conversation is why we're suffering today. I'm going to read you a Zohar before we finish. We'll do the Ohr Chaim, we'll do the Zohar. Okay, stick around to the end. Right? The Zohar HaKudosh talks about our situation now and Avram Avinu's prayer. Like this. Says the Ohr Chaim HaKudosh. We'll start with the Ohr Chaim. Vatam Sarah shlei hikbid losei shivcha leben chayrin. Why is she giving a shivcha to Ben Chayrin, to Avram Avinu? First of all, it's Asr. And Avram also, v'gam Avram, lomash and nemar shehevim divrei sar v'lei chosh atzmai.
What's Asr? That what?
Avram Avinu kept all the Torah.
Right.
You're not allowed to live with a shivcha.
Yeah, but Yaakov, he lived with the so what do you mean?
Okay, so if there's Hayrashah, if there's a reason that you have to do it. Rachel v'Leah, there are certain reasons, like we know it was before the Torah, so if there was a nevuah, that's actually one of the pshatim of the Ohr Chaim HaKadosh, that when a Navi, even afterwards, if a Navi says, this Shabbos, I want you to go to war. Hashem said so.
But only the Shabbos, not...
This Shabbos. Now, go eat treif. Hashem told me that you have to listen to him. If he's a proven Navi, he's not telling us stop keeping the Torah. He's saying in this particular situation. So Sarah was saying have Hagar. Why? Listen to this. V'tzoyrich haya badavar. What I'm telling you now is something that only the Avos HaKadoshim and something only that Avram Avinu with his Kedusha could do something like this. V'tzoyrich haya hadavar. Why? Ki be'emtzos hayosa shivcha, because she was a shivcha. Nisbarer b'chelik hamiyas shahayadavik ba'avram mimei kedem. All of the negativity, all of the miyaskite. You know what miyas means?
Impurities.
All of the impurities, all of the zuama, everything that was negative about Avram came from Terach. Chazal say when Terach got his wife pregnant with Avram, she was Tumas Nida. Avram was born from a relationship that his wife, his mother, was a Nida. He was his essence. Avram had a lot of Zuhama in him. Chazal ask, Avram Avinu was told, you're not going to have children. Say, go out. Avram loy noilad, Avraham noilad. What do you mean Avram noilad? You had Yishmael. Yeah, that was that kind of kid. The kind of kid you want, which is Zera Kodesh, Avram can't produce. You need to have a name change and you have to have an essence change. You have to lubricate, I got to get out all of the schmutz. How's it going to come out? A detox. Where? Through Hagar. in Yishmael. Listen to the words. V'chelek hamiz ha'ya davik ba'Avram mimekedem yotza hazuma b'Yishmael. V'nishar or sholem v'nochem b'Yitzchak. And he was left pure for Yitzchak. V'ilu, listen. Hoysa hagar mishuchreres. If there would have been a tipa of kedusha in Hagar, some of the good of Avram could have gone out in Hagar, and then Yitzchak wouldn't be totally good. Then the filter would have taken out some gutzkeit. The ilu haisa Hagar mishuchreres lahaya yotza kol azum levad mebli sheyetzi mechelek atoiv upirtze gedoyla haisa misubebes v'adavar v'Hashem yizbarach haisa neflois eleinu. So when Yishmael came out, all of the negativity of Avram Avinu came out. All of the bad to clean up Avram, so he should be able to have a Zera Kodesh called Yitzchak. If that's true, so what does Lu Yishmael Yichya Lefanecha? So what does Avram Avinu want? What will Yishmael do? And why is he davening for him? And what does Hashem mean? I'm going to give you and I'll answer your prayer. He did tshuva, right? He did tshuva. Was is mit alle seine Kinder? What's with and they're mityaches to Avram, Abraham. How many Arabs don't you have that are known as Abraham? And they call themselves. Listen to what it says in the Zera Kodesh at the end of Parshas Vayeira. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chia Be'orcha. Rabbi Yosef and Chia were walking on the road. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chia, Amayat Shosek, Rabbi Chia, why are you quiet? Why are you quiet? It's time to learn. When a person is walking, you should learn. Isnagid Rabbi Chia ubacha. He sighed and started to cry. Omar vati sora akara, ein lo vlad, vayalda, nebuch, that Sarah had to be an akara and couldn't have children. Vayalu zimna de oiled Hagar liyishmol. Nebuch to all of us. I'm crying because Hagar had to live with Avram. Sarah couldn't have kids, and they had to have a Yishmol. Amaleb Yosef Amai. But they had another kid afterwards. V'avabro giza de kadisha. Yitzchak is the kavena a giza from the chelik kedusha. Amalei at chama v'anochamina. You see and I see. V'hochish amini mepuma de Rashbi. Let me tell you what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said. Our Rabbi. Vayalu zimna. Begin the Sarah isakeves, when Sarah couldn't have a child. V'ataymer Sarah l'Avram boinel shevchasi. V'ado kaima shaita lahagar lameres l'Sarah gvirta. At that time, Sarah, the first time around, Hagar had an opportunity to be his isha, and had an opportunity to step in. Had she risen to the occasion, so in a certain way she was bashert for Avraham. As you see, according to one pshat, afterwards Keturah was Hagar and came back and did get a second chance. So you see, there was a certain bashert. V'havol Avram, V'Avram Amar Lu Yishmael Yichya Lefanecha. Halavai Yishmael should live. Even though Hashem had already told Avram, you're going to have a Yitzchak. He already said you're going to have a Yitzchak. And still, is Dabik Avram b'Yishmael. He still was miskasher himself. So Hashem said, you know what? I will answer you. V'labosar is gazer v'ol b'kiyuma kadisha adela yipach yitzchak la'alma. And he was even able to get a bris milah at the end of last week's parsha, and was the first to get a bris milah and show up on the scene before Yitzchak came around. That is problematic, said Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. That means that Yishmaelim have a zechus in brisay shel Avram Avinu before we do. What does that mean for us? Continues the Zera Kodesh. There's going to be 400 years. We don't know when those 400 years are. Are we in the middle? Are we at the end? There's only 200 years left to the world. So we're certainly towards the end of it. Boy kami kitche berichu. He comes to the Rabbi Nisham and says, "Man is gazu islay chuka b'shmach." If a person has a bris milah, do you have a kesher with you? That's what the Sar of Yishmael asks. Amalei in. Amalei v'ho Yishmael is gazer. Yishmael had a bris milah. Not only that, he was 13 years old. It was even a bigger thing for him to have a bris milah than it was for Yitzchak. Yitzchak wasn't even asked. Yishmael had a chance to make his own decision. Why doesn't he get a Yerusha? What the Zera Shimshon said, that Yishmael will come back and ask for a chelik of Yerusha, the Sar Shel Yishmael comes to Shamayim and a Bet Tzachos. Rabbeinu Shalom, he does Brisa Shel Avram Avinu. Amalei. So the Rabbeinu Shalom says back, Brisa Shel Avram, 8 days. Brisa Shel Avram, Mila, Priya, is gazer kediyaz v'tikuna v'lav v'dolav hachi. Yitzchak and Bnei Yitzchak do it the way they're supposed to. You don't do it that way. V'loy dem is dapkin bi kedikoyaz l'timna yoymin. Jewish people wait 8 days, like it says in the Chumash. V'ilon rechikin mini at kama yomim. The Arabs don't have that same minig. They're not doing it. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Sar Shel Yishmael, they're not keeping my mitzvah. Im kol do kiven des gazo yega aga toive begine. Sar Shel Yishmael is not shut down. He says, but they're doing it. Something they deserve. How can you just lock them out and say they don't get anything? Vai ala uzimna dis yalid Yishmael ba'alma vizgazer. Woe, says Reb Chia, in the name of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, that Yishmael took upon themselves the bris milah like Avram. Umad ovad kudsha berichu. So what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? He said, look, I can't not give you a chelik in Eretz Yisrael, but I'm only giving you a chelik in Eretz Yisrael when there's no kesher to above. When Eretz Yisrael is not, meaning when there's a Beis HaMikdash, when there's a Shura Scheiner, when you're Shalayim Shalamala v'Yishlayim Shalamata Meschuber, you're out. When there's a Churban and there's no Beis HaMikdash, that's when you'll be able to have a Shaychus. So he says, V'yov lechuka letato be'ara kadisha. They have certain rights to Eretz Yisrael. Beginahu gezira de bahaim.
Can you go back to that quote? Okay, so back to the quote that you just read.
Vahu zimna disyalid Yishmael basar. These guys are at that moment when, after he was born, because of his bris milah, ma'avid kudosh brichu, what did the Berger do? He said, Archik lubnei Yishmael medveka de la'ela. A kesher to Yerushalayim and Eretz Yisrael, lemala, that you're not getting. Rak yovle chulka letata ba'ara kadisha. Below, when Eretz Yisrael has no Beis HaMikdash, and Eretz Yisrael is separated from, there's no kedusha lamala, that's when they have it. Kad ihi reikona mekule zimna sagi. Kemo de gazrun de leibreikona, just like their bris is not the way it's supposed to, so their kesher to Eretz Yisrael is the same. V'inun, and we're coming to the end. Ya'akvun lohoin lebnei Yisrael asava leduchtayu. They are the reasons we're not getting back to our place. They're holding us back. Ad deshlim schusa de bnei Yishmael. Whatever schus they have from the bris milah that they make, when that schus is over, that's when their rights are over, and that's when we can come back to the Eretz Yisrael and be Yoirish Eretz Yisrael and Beis HaMikdash. And says Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, let me tell you what's going to happen. V'zminen b'nei Yishmael asra kriven takivim ba'olma. The Arabs, b'nei Yishmael, will awaken, be ma'orer, a great war in the world. V'izkansha b'nei Edom alayu. The nations which are misyaches to Edom, all of Western civilization, will come to war against the Arabs. And there'll be 3 places where they will go to war. Chad al Yama, Chad al Yabeshta, v'chad Samach Yerushalayim. And what's the simon of that? We'll have to see Be'ezus Hashem, not tonight. V'yishlatun ilon be'ilon, and they will conquer each other. It means there will be advances on both sides. But Va'ara kadisha yimsor lebnei Edom. Bnei Edom, Western civilization, will not be able to grab a hold of Eretz Yisrael. Ba'uzimna yis'ara ama chad mesoifer da'alma roiv chayova. Another nation shall come from the end of the world on this, what's known as Rome, Chayova. And there will be a krova, a war, tlas yerichen, 3 months. All the nations of the world will come together, mikol soife alma, and at that time HaKadosh Baruch Hu will awaken, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will finish off the job. Ki zevach Hashem bebatzra. V'lebasar da, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu will shake out, like you shake out a tablecloth. V'yisheitze b'nei Yisrael mina v'yispar kol chelen dil'einu. Whatever koyach Yishmael has, like it says by Mitzrayim, when Mitzrayim fought against Klal Yisrael, their koyach dissipated. The koyach of Yishmael will go v'lo yishtar chelo le'ela al alma kula. No other nation and all the ummahs will have no koyach except chelo, the koyach of Klal Yisrael. Hahu dichsiv Hashem tzilcha yad yaminecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will save us and protect us. State da, that whether Yishmael likes it or not, they will finish off the job of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu's job was to let the world know who is Hashem. Avram Avinu's, the name Yishmael is Yishma Kel. Whether they like it or not, they're going to fight for their reason. But against their will, what will happen is what Avram Avinu wants, which is that Hashem will be known in the world. The prayer of Lu Yishmael Yichya Lefanecha is, on the one hand, it's Avram Avinu working through Yishmael al apam val chamosam, against their will. They don't want that. They want what they want for themselves. And unfortunately, they have a power. The power they have is because Avram Avinu davened to Hashem for the Arabs, Lu Yishmael. But that they have a schus because they're keeping a bris, but they're not keeping the way they're supposed to. And as long as they're doing more and more atrocities, they're losing their schus. Hopefully, it should be gone bekarev legamri. But what happened because of them is what Avram Avinu wants should happen, which is that everybody will know v'yedu kol pa'ul ki ato pa'altoi, through Yishmael, not because they want to do it, but because they're going to be the vehicle through which it happens. As the children of Avram Avinu, let us be zoicha b'meheira b'yameinu. We should be zoicha to see how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech. That all of them, v'olu Mosheim b'hartzim lishbait ishar Esav v'hoisol Hashem hamlucha b'korev mamish. Reb Chananya ben Akashim wrote to HaKadosh Baruch Hu lezakas es Yisrael. Give me my hat. Lefichach hirbolem Torah mitzvahs. Shenemar Adonai chafetz aman tzidkoi yagil Torah v'yadir Menachem ben